Hello, I need to tell you a joke. It's an old joke and not a good joke, but I need to tell you it. It goes like this. My dog has no nose. How does it smell? Terrible. I'm sorry. And now I'm going to have to commit the crime of explaining the joke. My dog has no nose. So you think, okay, it has no nose. How does it smell? So how does it notice the smells of other things around it if it has no nose? And the answer is terrible. But if this was referring to its ability to use its nose to smell, the answer, of course, would be the adverb terribly. So when you hear terrible, you know that, oh, smell, that's not about the dog's ability to smell things. It's about the state of the dog, about how it smells, and it smells terrible. It's a smelly dog. Okay, let's look at this using a dog as an example and a small dog called Fido. Okay. Please pause this video here and fill in the gaps using the present tense of the verb to smell. In the first column we have smell as an action verb. Fido smells the flowers every day. That's present simple. That's for a habit, a routine, a repeated action. Look at Fido, he's smelling those flowers. That's happening at the moment of speaking. It's something in progress, present continuous. In the state column, so this is about the state of Fido, we can say Fido smells bad, he clearly needs a bath. Present simple. But we can't use the present continuous if it's a state. Okay? It's quite simple. Let's have another example. There's an international advertising campaign which I'm sure has caused problems for English language teachers all over the world. It goes, da 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 da, I'm loving it. Yeah, it's for a fast food chain. Ow. Love is normally a state verb, right? You would normally say, I love it. Now, there are some cases where you can say I'm loving it. In this particular grammar book, it actually has these two examples I'm going to read to you. It says, Ella stays with us quite often. The children love having her here. So that's the state, obviously, about how the children feel. But it says you can also have this. Ella's with us at the moment. The children are loving having her here. And that's true, you can say that. But if you think about it, in this case, the children are loving having her here. It really has a different meaning, which it doesn't mention in this book. It really means the children are enjoying having her here. And we can see that this is the case because we can compare, for example, the man loves his wife. That's a state. The man is loving his wife. That's, you can't use love as an action verb there. It sounds like they're doing something quite naughty, even though it's not an option to use the verb in that way. So you can see that love still is very much a state verb. Although, sure, nowadays you will hear people saying, oh, I'm loving that, oh, I'm liking that idea, and so on. This is because language changes. I believe, and I'm not a literature person, but I believe that in the early works of Shakespeare, there were more cases of simple aspect, and later on he used more continuous aspect. And certainly over the last, 30, 40 years, you've heard people saying, oh, I'm liking blah, 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 I'm loving blah, blah, blah. I do it myself, I'm sure, in certain situations. But this still isn't, it hasn't reached mainstream academia yet, if you want. And although this grammar course is aimed to help you in general with your English grammar, it's also specifically aimed to help you with academic writing. My advice is this. You will hear people using forms like I'm loving, I'm liking, and you can certainly use those away from the university. But with anything connected to the university, please stay traditional. Please say, oh, I love that, I like that. Because although I'm sure that in 10, 20 years' time, it will be fine to use both forms, at the moment, it isn't. Well, it is and it isn't. Let's say it isn't. Because on this course, you want to have clear rules. And so that's the rule for this course and for the exam for this course, the old-fashioned style. Okay? Right, let's move on. Please pause the video to check the answers that you wrote for the exercises on StudIP, and then we will go through them. All three of these are correct. A, it's an action verb, it's present simple, it's a fact or it's always true. Jack weighs fish, that's what he does. B, it's an action verb, present continuous. Jack's weighing some fish right now, so he's picking the fish up and putting it on the scales right now. C, state verb. This isn't about what Jack does, it's what he is. He weighs 80 kilos, or 12.5 stone in Britain, or 176 pounds in America. Number 2, only A and B are correct. A, I usually think. That's an action verb. It's about the process of thoughts occurring in your head. Okay, so that's a routine, repeated action, or whatever. B, I'm thinking right now. So yet again, it's about thought processes occurring within your head. C, you'd actually say, I think you're right. It's about your state, that you believe something. So believing something is not the same as thoughts happening in your head. Interestingly, this use of think in a continuous form, even though it's a state, this used to be known as being quite specific to the English spoken in India. Nowadays, you'll hear English speakers all over the world using this. Myself as well sometimes even, but not in a formal situation, not in a formal context. So we're going to say that C is wrong. Only B and C are possible here. Let's compare A and B. If appear has the meaning of seem, then it needs to be, it's a state verb, it needs to be in simple aspect. My internet connection doesn't appear to be working. In C, appear has the meaning of, perform, something like that. My cousin is appearing on stage in a play this week, so he or she, because a cousin can be either gender, is performing on stage. it has that meaning. So in this case, it's present continuous, something happening around the moment of speaking, a temporary situation, something in progress. Okay, let's move on to exercise 2. Right, let's go through the answers. Number 1, incorrect. As I've explained, in slang, you will hear people saying this kind of thing. Oh, I'm loving your outfit. But for our purposes, no, it would have to be I love your outfit. It's a state, it's about the state of how you feel about the outfit. Number 2, I named this ship Victoria. May God bless her and all who sail in her. Yes, that is correct. When you say I name this ship, you're actually using a performative verb. And it's language which is very much well known to work in this way. Some other examples, for example, are if someone marries you, then he or she, the vicar, he or she, says, I now pronounce you man and wife. If you have committed a crime, the judge might say to you, I now sentence you to 10 years in prison. These performative verbs are almost always state verbs. The interesting thing is, you have to be officially recognised as someone who can say these verbs. I can't walk up to two people and say, I now pronounce you man and wife, with the result being that they are married. I can't say to someone, I sentence you to 10 years in prison, because I'm not a judge. Okay? And likewise, I can't just walk up to a random ship or boat and give it a name. Number 3, this is incorrect. This meal consists of too many unhealthy ingredients. In your grammar book, you'll find consists of as being on the list of verbs which are normally state verbs. 4, many people hate having to stay at home right now. Even though this is something happening right now, hate, like love, like, etc., is a state verb. Okay? Even in slang, I think it would be less common to hear anyone say many people are hating having to stay at home. Okay? I think that's less common than liking and loving. Number 5, incorrect. Jenny believes in the tooth fairy, just like someone might believe in God, for instance. Believe is normally a state verb. In your grammar book, you will find more information about state verbs, including lists of verbs which typically are state verbs. Okay, so have a good look at that. Make sure you know which verbs work in that way. In our next lesson, we're moving into the past. We haven't finished with the present yet, but we need to look at the past before we can go any further with the present. Okay, see you then.